G'day fellas, and welcome back to another episode of Viper Watch. Spawning in the west of the map, it is of course the Viper playing on the color blue and most importantly, playing the Chinese. His opponent spawning on the opposite side of the map, going to be playing up against Capoche, and he is also going to be playing the Chinese. Now, the name of this video, or the title of this video, is that China is taking over the meta. So that's before we even get into this game. But I want to talk to you guys about this because this is Arabia. And Arabia, 4 weeks ago, if you said you've got two top players, Capoche and Viper, who are ranked respectively 58 and 13 on the ladder at the moment, but I'm sure you will all agree with me, they are some of the top players that Age of Empires 4 has got at the moment, and that they're picking China willingly on this map, that you would call me absolutely crazy. But the good news is I am not crazy, my friends. This is a game that is happening right now, and it is Capoche going up Viper, playing in the China mirror. So let's talk about how we got here. How did we get to this position? How did we possibly get to the point where China became a meta civilization? Well, what's happened is obviously, we started off in the very first week with French just sort of going a little bit crazy. And then eventually it was found out that actually the Mongols is the strong civ. And then it got into, well, hold on, it's not just that Mongols are strong, it's that Springolds are strong. And so the meta really began to develop away from that French aggression. Obviously, if you play up against a French player, you are going to be having aggressive knights coming in and raiding your wood line, raiding your gold mine. But the majority of players now have begun to understand that it is not so much about being able to kill enemy villages, or rather being able to force your enemy to make outposts on your resource lines, but rather it's about being able to capitalize in that early castle age, and that's exactly what China is able to do. So one of the things that China does incredibly well, I'm sure you guys will know it, it is the clock tower, the astronomical clock tower. It's an age 3 landmark, and it is one of the strongest landmarks in the game, and to be honest, it's probably going to get nerfed just because of how freaking big it is. It is China. Like when you look at China's landmarks, okay, every single one of them is F tier. Like they're just terrible, except for this landmark. This one landmark is S+ tier. It's crazy. China got 5 terrible landmarks and they got 1 amazing landmark. So make sure you're always picking up that landmark. And essentially, the way that we got here is because China, once you get to these top levels, it becomes really important to micro out all of your Springolds, so that when they're fighting, you might have a whole bunch of Springolds that are here. You want to try and pull your Springold back if it's getting focused down by your enemy, so that it can get away with maybe just even 5 HP. That's all that it really needs, because from there, then you're just going to get a villager to right-click it, repair it up, heal it up, and it's going to be perfectly fine. And the reason why China's able to be so strong in the current meta is because they are able to do that better than anybody else, not because they necessarily have more when it comes to the Springold mass, but rather they have higher HP Springolds. So the astronomical clock tower turns that HP from 200 up to 300 HP, and that's what makes China so strong. And so even if your enemy has got more Springolds than you, you're going to be able to keep more of yours alive, and you're going to be able to battle them out in attrition. In addition to that, China's also, as we move towards this more greedy playstyle, China is an incredibly strong civ when it comes to playing greedy. They are capable of doing some huge booms. We've already seen Viper this week doing massive booms, including a 3 town center Song Dynasty boom, which was the equivalent of 4.5 town center booms. So in this game, we're going to be watching exactly what he gets up to. Going to be dropping down a Barbican at the front of his base, already taking stone. Now, this is a relatively early age up for China, dropping down a house here at the front. Going to be milling up his berries. It doesn't look like we've got any Imperial official out just yet for him. His opponent, however, Capoche, has already gone up with that Barbican, and you can see the Barbican is in a decent spot, but it's quite far away from where Capoche is, where his main base is. So I would expect that we might even see him expanding down here, but one of the things to note is that already just having a look at Capoche's resources in 3, 2, 1, he is going to have professional scouts coming in. There it is. So going to be going professional scouts with China, going to potentially look to steal some hunts from his opponent. Do we have a stable coming out just yet? It doesn't seem that way. So we do have a scout that is going to be coming out. Now, it's going to be coming out of the town center. So that is an important distinction to note. There is going to be 1 less villager and 1 more scout out on the field for him. He also does have that Imperial official out already, and he's got that nice little mill close to the town center. We have seen players doing this a lot, and it just saves you so much time with your Imperial official. So if you put your mill out on your berries, right, you've got your sheep out here as well. Your Imperial officials got to walk all the way into your town center, drop it off the 20 tax gold, and then walk all the way back out. But if you keep him right here, next to the mill, it's literally just pick it up, walk here, drop it off, walk back, start supervising again. You don't miss any drops. It's a really smart move to do. And we've actually seen a lot of players begin to do it on their wood lines, because that way you're able to minimize walking distance here with the lumber camp as well, because people are incorporating those lumber camps into their early build orders. So already we see Capoche now moving down towards the south. Going to be looking to pick up those deer that sit below his base. And take a look at that. 7 sheep coming in for Capoche. He's very happy with his haul for today. And Viper going to be spotting that out and say, damn, girl, you got 7 sheep? You're damn right I did, Capoche. You're damn right. Well, rather, Viper, you're damn right I did. Now, speaking of Viper, we'll take a look at what he's got going on his base. On his side of the map, okay, we're sitting at 6 minutes at the moment. Now, he's played a very, I would say, safe build order here. What do you mean by that, Drongo? What could you possibly mean by a safe build order here? So the way that it's safe is that we're sitting at 6 minutes. Now, if you're playing China and you're going for an early greedy TC, you can get that TC up at about 450 if you use the most optimal build order. He's waiting to about 6 minutes 20, 6 minutes 30 is when his town center is going to be dropping down here. But I would note, he has got a lot of his upgrades. So already getting fertilization in, already coming through here with his wheelbarrow technique. So getting a lot of his economic upgrades. Doesn't have the specialized pick, but does have his early forestry upgrade. Going to be moving to the north now and going to be dropping down this town center. And take a look how far away this town center is going to be dropped. This isn't on the second hunt, or on the first hunt rather, which is out here. It's on the second hunt, so it's extra far away for Viper to be coming out this distance. But he's in a China mirror, and he knows that there's not going to be a lot of aggression. It would be absolutely wild if his enemy was to put on any sort of aggression in the early stage, where it would consist of, say, a ram. Okay, now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see horsemen coming out potentially, you know, going to be bringing up some scouts with them to look to potentially take out these deer that are here. But other than that, you know, it's highly unlikely that you would see a ram come in or archer pressure or anything like that on this. And that's why he's able to come out here and sort of just take advantage of this situation. Now, we take a look down towards his base, and he's actually going for a dynasty. So he's got a lot of villagers, dropping that down. That's 6 villages. We now enter the Song dynasty with Viper. Villager production time has been reduced by 35%. He also unlocks the village, which is a very cool, unique building. So you know, often with the town center out here, right, you've got 10 villages. Already Viper's sitting on 7. He makes 3 more out here, and he's going to be potentially prone to raids. What can he do? He can actually drop down the village, which is going to act as a garrison point for his villagers. Important to distinguish the two between that. Village, villager, 2 different things. Village is the building, villager is the unit. And it's a very efficient form of housing as well. It's half the price, or equivalent to half the price for any houses. Taking a look now at Capoche, he is doing almost what is considered to be a standard build order for most civilizations these days, and that is professional scouts into Fast Castle. And that's pretty much it. He has got his own dynasty going up, though. So that is important to note. He has his Imperial Academy up. He's in the Song dynasty as well. But keep in mind, Viper is on that second town center, so obviously going to be producing villagers twice as fast. And now a blacksmith going to be coming out here. Viper going to be spotting this one out and probably wondering, well, hold on a minute. What is up with this blacksmith, and why do you have it? Because typically, you're not going to be needing that blacksmith. I'm very curious to know exactly what this is all about. Do we potentially see... I don't think there's any blacksmith upgrades that affects torch damage, but yeah, I'm very curious to know exactly what his thought process is behind this. So for anybody wondering, what's the meta going to be here? What are these players going to be looking to do? Men-at-Arms, or Palace Guards, as they are known, combined with Springlets. That's what you can expect. I don't think we're going to see too many Nest of Bees getting thrown in, just because they are quite easy to snipe out, but who knows? We have seen Viper use them in the past, so he may look to bring in a couple of those Nest of Bees. Going to be cleaning up that entire hunt now down towards the south. So picking up both of his hunts there and bringing them all over onto this mill. And take a look how much tax is actually in this. So this is one of the common complaints that Chinese players have, is that you have so much tax in your building that you're never actually going to be able to get all the tax out, because it's not just mills that really begin to build it up. It's things like lumber camps as well. So we take a look here. There's 82 and 36 there. Now going to be dropping down that astronomical clock tower, 178 on that mining camp. And that's going to take so damn long for him to actually get that tax out there. So, astronomical clock tower going down 10 villages. We'll take a look over at Viper's perspective. Does he have anything going up? He's got his own blacksmith going up with +1 on the way. Very, very curious as to what he may be doing. Do we see potential Chokunu that are going to be coming out here. Now, with the pronunciation of that word, obviously, it's spelled a little bit different in AoE 4 than AoE 3, which is where I'm from. So, yeah, we normally just go with Chokunu. But now, Viper going to be dropping down the astronomical clock tower. Coming up just behind him, we'll do a quick stock take. 51 villagers compared over to his opponent, who sits on 39. So, a 12 villager advantage for the Viper. And going to be getting up to Castle Age, essentially, you know, about a delay of what is that, 20 seconds probably? So I tell you what, if I'm Viper right now, I'm feeling pretty happy with my build order, the way things have worked, and now we do indeed have those Springalds coming out, and this is where China really comes into its own or its strength, because most civs at this point, you know, as I mentioned early on in the meta, we did see France coming out, and against China, you know, France is just going to absolutely stampede over them because China doesn't have a lot of particular early defensive bonuses. Obviously, they've got the Barbican that they can put down to defend some positions, but, you know, in comparison to civilizations like the English, it's just not a civilization that's really going to be able to use a lot of its civilization advantages in the early game to defend itself. But now that the meta has sort of moved on from that, and now that we are seeing more and more passive play and you know, plays towards this mid-game or this early castle age, then what we're actually seeing is China becoming a very viable option. Viper now going to be spotting out those palace guards. We'll see the +1 armor on them. Doesn't see, I'm not sure if that's a +1 attack in there. We will have to check. No +1 attack just yet, but siege engineering going to be coming in here as well for his opponent. So perhaps that is what he's up to. Viper may find that out the hard way. Viper now going to be looking to get out those Clockwork Springalds as well. So Clock Tower Springalds, they are coming out. Moving up towards the north. Now, the question is whether his opponent knows about this. There is a scout up here, so I would assume that he is very cognizant, or not very cognizant, but he is aware of the town center that is up here, and hence we have that siege engineering coming through, and undoubtedly going to have that battering ram coming down, and Capoch does not spot that scout, because that scout would have spotted him, I tell you that much. Even though the range on these Springalds is, or the line of sight on these Springalds is quite high, it's not high enough to see out of those stealth forests. And now it looks like Capoch may have overplayed his cards as his opponent Viper does actually pick off the scout. Have we got that all-important speed upgrade just yet? Doesn't look like we've got greased axles coming through, but take a look at what Viper's doing. He's actually massing crossbows behind this. Now, I'm pretty confident Viper would have denied this line of sight from his opponent. A second scout now going to be coming in and looking around the base. Doesn't spot out this archery range that is being supervised by the Imperial official, so he's got no idea that it's here. Springalds, I'm not sure whether they're sitting there ready to go. Does he actually spot this one out? He's got to be a bit careful here. There are crossbows, and he will probably spot these there. He will spot that, and you can actually see, I'm not sure whether that's intentional, whether he's moving away, but continuing to push in. So crossbows are going to be very effective against the palace guards here. The village are going to be going down there, and now Capoche begins to move in, getting attacked on the back line. Just a scout going to be doing a little bit of scouting, but now a Viper, realizing he's in a bit of a difficult spot, going to bring all those extra clock tower Springalds back up, and I would expect that we would probably see him pull a few villages for this fight. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to the way the Springald mechanics work, it's 60 damage, okay? An extra 20 for siege, total of 80. They've got 8 armor. That means 72 damage is what they're doing to an enemy Springald. So it takes 3 shots to do 200 damage. But to do 300 damage, it actually takes 5 shots. So that is a huge difference when you consider, you know, 3 shots versus 5 shots. So when you're looking at this sort of number, and you've got 4 Springalds that come out, don't be surprised to see Viper immediately pull this one back. He needs to pull that one back right now before that next shot gets off. He didn't pull it back in time, and now the crossbows are going to do their best to try and deal with the palace guards. You can see they're not going to have too much of an issue, and they are going to slowly get picked off. And now the Springalds on the back line. We see Capoche doing a pretty decent job of pulling his own ones back. A lot of these are on low HP, but Viper actually going to be moving up with the crossbows, and look how effectively those crossbows do. At the same time, Viper going to be healing up his Springalds on the back line. This is exactly what I talked about. These Springalds need to try and stay alive, and that's exactly what Viper's doing with the defender's advantage. He's going to have just a couple of villages here, 6 villages. It's going to be all he needs to heal it up. Palace Guard's now going to be getting onto the front line. Springalds dealing damage on the back line there, and Viper really trying his best to hold on here. Villagers have gotten out of the mix, but I think Viper thinks he can probably just hold on now, irrespective of the villagers being in the battle or not. And scouts now coming out for Viper as well. A huge amount of scouts going to be coming out here as well. The question is whether he's actually dropped a stable for this or whether they've come out of town centers, but now going to be able to siege down these Springalds. And look how low their HP these are, and they're going to be able to get in on top of it. And this is what I say about the meta. You know, we see the meta shift one way, then we see it shift back when players learn to counter it Viper has learned, you know, just like many other players, that scouts are very cost-effective against Springalds. They do the same siege damage as a Lancer, as a Knight, as a Horseman. They do a heap of siege damage, especially to siege. We take a look here. You can actually see if we can get on it. We couldn't get on it. Here we go. 16 with plus 10 to siege. They do 26 damage each. That is a huge amount of siege. That is the same amount of damage that a Palace Guard does. It's the same amount of damage that a Knight does. A fully upgraded Knight does the exact same amount of siege as the Scout does. And so that's why they are so effective here. And Viper continues to impress me with this amazing China play that we are seeing. And he begins to build up a lead as well, up about 700 points. Now, this is all coming from that second town center that he did add. If we do a quick stock take right now, we can see that Capoch is on 60 villagers. Compare that over to his opponent. I apologize, that was the wrong button. Viper is sitting on 87. So there is a 27 villager lead. Viper sitting up on villager count at the moment by about 45%, I would say. That's a pretty decent amount to be up on your opponent. And that's pretty much the game at this point. I can't imagine Viper losing. He's got a lot of infrastructure that is down right here. Keep in mind, he's got his wheelbarrow in as well, so he's going to be absolutely fine collecting these from 3 tiles out. Obviously, it would be nice if he had a mill out here to help him, but a huge amount of villagers up here towards the north, and actually a relic that sort of blocked his ideal spot, but 20 villagers up here, and he's very happy with this free space. One of the things to note is that it can become a bit of an issue around your main base, your main area, because look at all the infrastructure that you've got there. You know, you don't really want to be putting things there like farms, because you've got this Imperial Academy. You want to make sure that it's buffing up all of the buildings in this area. You want to avoid using this for farms. But your second town center, by all means, go for it. That is plenty a good reason to do it. Viper now going to be moving out towards the boar. Not losing a villager, doing pretty well. He does have that textiles upgrade, which is, I will say, something that we continue to see him use as the meta continues to evolve into Springald meta. A couple of villagers now going to be putting down farms out here as well, so realizing that he brought out a few too many villagers. Some of them did go idle. Ideally, you can have 8 villagers out on this boar, but if you do kill it a little bit too close to the mill, then it can come down to 7. So, going to just be dropping down those 2 farms. And I like that. Instead of just walking them all the way back, he said, you know what? I'm not going to bother. Now, I wonder what the decision behind not putting farms down at the very front of the town center is right here. I remember watching, I think it was a Spirit of the Law video, and someone was talking about the landing spot that you can put for your villagers on the town center. I don't know if it was Spirit of the Law, but essentially you would leave like this nice little gap. The question was, what's the best way to make farms around your town center? And there was a player who, I think he played on Black Forest. He would always leave this gap right where his villagers would land when they would spawn. He wouldn't rally the town center anywhere specifically. They would just land there, and then he would allocate them out. And it was very cute because, you know, there was 4 or 5 villagers that would slowly begin to build up over the course of, you know, the early game, and then he would move them all out. It was very, very, very sweet. Maybe Viper is going for that low elo legend strategy. Who knows? But now we do see this push coming out from his opponent. Capoch looking to make ends meet over towards the north of the map. By the same time, we've got Viper, who's now going to be moving down towards the south. We do have a town center that's going to be going down, but it may be a little bit too late as these Lancers are going to be moving in towards them. 36 damage here on the charge. Going to be doing plenty of damage, trying their best. And Springalds now towards the north are going to be focusing on those Viper villagers. But take a look, they do not actually kill them. They manage to survive with 15 HP. Viper at the same time going to be harassing down here. A lot of villagers. He's got to be careful, Capoch does, because both players are going to be losing villagers on their respective sides, but Capoch has got a much more volatile economy at this point. Viper now going to be moving up towards the north. He's got a fair bit of an artillery siege that is coming up here, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough to match Capoch. Capoch does have that speed upgrade, 1.2 movement speed. Viper has that one as well, and looks to be evacuating the front now. Now, there is no battering ram that's come in just yet, and Capoch looks like he's going to jump the shark, managing to come in a little bit early here, falling into town center range, but it's not going to do a lot of damage. He's not going to have to be particularly worried. Now, on the north side, Viper might be in a bit of trouble as these veteran archers actually find out this expansion towards the north. That's 9 villagers. That's going to be 2 that go down, and he continues to move up here. Capoch going to be looking to secure up a nice little evening of the gap towards it, but Viper at the same time going to be raiding out. We see these villagers on the ground. He continues to fire. Only veteran archers in here, not going to be crossbows. More action now as Viper looks to actually take on the fight to his opponent. We see the archers on the back line, the Palace Guards on the front line, the Springalds on the front line as well. Majority of Springalds for Viper have gone down, but there's only a few Lancers that remain at this point. Keep in mind, behind this, we've still got an absolutely huge raid that has gone on. for both players losing units, both players losing villages, and Viper's military actually doing a pretty decent job up against these palace guards. Not enough crossbows at all in the back here, and I've got a feeling that he may actually overwhelm his opponent. He's been trading out the Springles relatively well with Viper, but he may be in a position here where he actually does go down, because despite him actually having a pretty decent mass, it looks like Viper's actually going to be able to overwhelm him here. He's only got +1 ranged attack, but I tell you what, it's going to be enough, and Capoche actually taps out. Viper takes the victory and really showing his Chinese prowess. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this video. China is absolutely taking over the ladder. It's been great to see the continual rise, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.